So turn with me today to the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter 24. And I'm basically going to be talking about how Abraham asked his servant to go and get a wife for his son Isaac. That's the story. But this morning I want to talk about understanding God's promises. You see, when God promises something to you, stick to the promise. Don't look at the circumstances of what's happening. Don't listen to the words of people. Stick to the promise. It's important that we stick to the promise of God because that's what's important. And when God spoke to Abraham, and the story of Abraham said, I'm going to bless you. Abraham said, I don't even have any children. Who are you going to bless me with? He says, all my property is going to go to my servant. And long story short, God says, no. You're going to have your own son. And God takes him out and shows him the stars and said, look at all these stars. You can't even count them. And so this, in chapter 24, Isaac becomes a young prospective bachelor and needs to get married. And so every parent always wants their children to get the good partner. And Abraham has a lot of servants, but apparently he had this one very faithful servant, and he tells the servant to go and search for I don't think anybody will tell their servant to go and search for a girl and boy for their children. I've not heard of anybody asking their servant to do that, but let's see the story. Genesis chapter 24 from verses 1 says, Abraham was now a very old man, and the Lord had blessed him in every way. One day, Abraham said to his oldest servant, so he has a lot of servants. That was his oldest servants and probably the most faithful, trustworthy servant. The oldest servant, the man in charge of his household. Take an oath by putting your hand under my thigh. Swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the earth, that you will not allow my son to marry one of these local Canaanite women. Note the word local Canaanite women. Canaanite or Canaanite, whatever it is. Go instead to my homeland, to my relatives, and find a wife there for my son. Sounds like some of the Tamil people, or Telugites, or Malayalis who find boys and girls amidst their relatives. Maybe they're taking it from the Bible, I don't know. But anyway, let's see. The servant asked, but what if I can't find a young woman who's willing to travel so far from home? Should I then take Isaac there to live among your relatives in the land you came from? And verse 6, Abraham says, no. Abraham responded, be careful never to take my son there. For the Lord, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and my native land, solemnly promised to give this land to my descendants. Note the promise. Abraham is bringing back the promise. He's replying back with the promise. Remember when the devil came to Jesus and said those three things. Jesus never spoke with his wisdom. He says, it is written. It is written. It is written. So Abraham's telling his servant, hey, it's not written. It was said. It's not just written. It was said to me. So listen to me. You're not taking my son there. Solemnly promise to give this land to my descendants. So he will send his angel ahead of you, and he will see to it that you find a wife there for my son. Wow. Now he's prophesying and confirming the promise. He's saying, hey, listen, you're not taking my son there. The God who promised me, he will see to it. Who will see to it? Not you. Not the people. Not the church, not the pastor. The God who promised me, he will see to it that he gives you a wife for my son. If she is unwilling to come back with you, then you are free from this oath of mine. But under no circumstance are you to take my son there. Wow. So the servant took an oath by putting his hand under the thigh of his master Abraham. He swore to the following Abraham's instructions. Then he loaded 10 of Abraham's camels with all kinds of expensive gifts from his master. And he traveled to a distant Aram Naharaim. There he went to the town where Abraham's brother Nahor had settled. He made the camels kneel beside a well just outside the town. It was evening and the women were coming out to draw. So if you read that chapter, that whole chapter, it's a very interesting story. Very interesting story. This guy, the head servant, the main servant, the most trustworthy servant, takes the camels with all the gifts, trying to go find a wife for his master's son. Now listen to me. The servant might not have been a very spiritual guy. The servant might not have been a very holy guy. But he was following his master's instructions. And this morning, the reason I said that we need to understand God's promise is because God will say something to you, hold on to it till it comes to pass. Don't keep changing the promises. Don't keep changing it according to circumstance and situations. He will make it come to pass, depending on your faith, belief, and hope. Not on the church, not on anybody else. He spoke to you. He expects you to keep up what he spoke to. And if you read that whole chapter, very nice story, the servant goes there and the servant is a very smart guy. I don't think he's a very spiritual guy, but he has this great responsibility to bring back a wife for Isaac. And very clear instructions that you should go and get a girl from only that town, that village, from that clan. I was looking up why Abraham didn't want a Canaanite girl or lady or woman. And a little bit of the history. It says that the Canaanite women were not a very godly community. They believed in a lot of witchcraft. They believed in a lot of idol worship. They believed in a lot of superstitious things. They were not godly people. Abraham was a godly guy. And he was very, very clear that his family needs to go the godly way for the godly blessing to come. And that's why he said, do not get a local girl from here. He was very clear. He was not bothered about what people thought about him. And sometimes I keep thinking about many families who get boys and girls for their children, and what do they think in their mind when they're trying to search for a boy or a girl? What are they thinking? What was Abraham thinking? What was Abraham thinking? Abraham was not thinking, அந்த பையனா engineer பையன் நல்ல மாப்பிள்ளையா இருப்பான். No, he's not thinking about doctor and engineer. He was thinking about the promise. He's not thinking about the house and the possession and the property and the cars and the gold that someone. He was thinking about God's promise. What do you think about when you're trying to get married? What do you think about when you're trying to get a job? What do you think about when you're trying to get something accomplished in your life? Are you thinking what people are thinking and saying, or are you thinking the promise of God? Let me back up a little bit. Do you know why parents think what they think and look at everything else except God? Because they never heard God. They never heard God. So what are they going to lean back on? Abraham heard God. He had something to lean back on and trust. What do you and me have to lean back on? We have job to lean on. We have car to lean on. We have sight to lean on. We have gold to lean on. So we lean on these things for the children's future and boy and girl. And what happens when you lean on all these things? They're going to go away. They're going to go away. The job is going to go away. The salary is going to go away. The sight in the house is going to go away. You have nothing else to lean on. Abraham leaned on God's promise. And that's why he said, I don't want any girl from here. These people are not going to be my daughter-in-law, my child's wife. Go to my relatives. Go and get her from there. Because God has told me he's going to bless me, and I want to make sure the blessing is in my family. When you're trying to search for a boy and girl to get married, listen very carefully, I'm telling you. It's okay to look at their education. It's okay to look at their beauty and their features and their color and their whatever you want to look at. Nothing wrong. It's very funny. If you look at the Forerunner magazine, you'll see some very funny things mentioned there. Parents will be putting an ad for their children. Wanted fair, wheatish complexion, teetotaler son for their daughter. I don't know what color the daughter is. They want fair maple for the girl. I don't know whether the girl is fair or they want fair, so the baby will be fair. Listen, nothing wrong with being fair, nothing wrong with being dark, nothing wrong with being brown complexion. What is wrong is you are searching for the wrong things and leaning on the wrong things. That is wrong. Fair is not wrong. Dark is not wrong. People should be searching for God-fearing girl, God-fearing boy. Not be searching for the other things. Everything else is extra, bonus. Don't search for those things. What if you get all those things and get a rotten person who will slap you every day and say you have to obey me? That's what's happening. I'm saying every home is there. If I say sit, you must sit. If I say stand, you must stand. Rather not get married. If you want to lean on the promise of God, you have to have a promise. If you don't have a promise, what are you going to lean on? You'll be leaning on everything else except God. Abraham had nothing else apart from the promise of God. And he gave these clear instructions. So, if you look at the whole passage and story, the servant, I'll summarize it because I don't want to read the whole chapter. The servant, he's taking all his camels and he's going and he's trying to figure out, how do I find a girl? And he says, I want one from that village, from my relatives. How do I find a girl for my master? And then he came up with a plan. He says, okay, here's how I'm going to know God is going to give me this girl. I will go there near the well, keep my camels there. And if a woman comes here, I'm going to ask her for water to drink. I'm going to ask her, I'm thirsty, give me water. And if she gives me water, and if she also says, I will give you water for all your camels also, that is the girl for my master's son. Wow, that's a pretty dangerous fleece. They call it a fleece. Fleeces are you saying something to God and making sure when that happens, that confirms it. That's a fleece. That's a pretty dangerous fleece. That's a risky fleece. But you know what? The servant loved and honored his master so much. He respected his master. And God made sure that he never makes a mistake with the servant. Because this is for Abraham, right? Long story short, goes there. He sees all the young girls coming out in the evening with their pots to go get water. And there was this young girl who came named Rebecca. And as soon as he saw Rebecca, he said, can I have some water to drink? And she was very kind. She gave water. And then he kept quiet. He's waiting for the next part to be confirmed. And after giving water, she says, sir, I will also get water for all your camels till they're all filled. And she goes there to bring water to give it for all the camels. And immediately the servant's saying, this is the girl for my master's son. And then he starts asking her, what is your name? What's your dad's name? Where are you from? And he gets to understand, for some reason, that this is a very close relative of his master. Long story short, he goes home, and then he actually asks her, can I come and stay in your house? Is there room? And she is so kind. She's so respectful. She's so hospitable. She's so loving. He said, oh, there's lots of room for your camels and there's food for your camels. There's also, we have a guest house. You can come and stay. She doesn't even know this guy. He's a stranger. Which young girl talks to a stranger like that? But you see, let me tell you something. When God prepares one side, he's preparing the other side also. You don't have to be worried whether stranger, enemy, friend. You don't have to be worried. The peace of God that passeth all understanding will keep confirming things for you one at a time, one after the other. Long story short, he goes there, meets all the family, and he's explaining to Abraham from start to finish what his master said, told him and instructed him. Everything, word for word, he's sitting and talking to Abraham this whole story. And that is why I'm here, sir. Abraham doesn't even know this guy. And this guy is not Abraham's brother or relative. He's a servant. Church, this guy is a servant. Talking to Abraham's relatives. Verse 50. Verse 50. Genesis 24:50. Then Laban and Bethuel replied, the Lord has obviously brought you here, so there is nothing we can say. Wow. He says, we know God has brought you here. What you've explained is very clear. What is there for us to say anymore? This is the girl's father talking. The girl's father talking. What is there to say anymore? We have nothing to say. Verse 51. Here is Rebekah. Take her and go. Wow, I just imagine, Kim got married recently. Imagine someone comes to my house and with some dog and some sheep and some cow and says, I'm so-and-so, I'm coming from Tiruvannamalai, and my master and so-and-so, and I met your daughter. I think she's the right girl for my son. Excuse me, who are you? I'm going to go, excuse me, who are you? Do I know you? There was no questions here because God was preparing everybody. Everybody. Strangers meeting strangers and God putting his spirit there to make everybody feel good about it. He says, here's Rebekah, take her and go. Yes, let her be the wife of your master's son as the Lord has directed. Now, why is all this happening in such a manner? Why is there no confusion? Why is there no fear? Why is there no anxiety? Why is there no doubt? Why is there no scare? Why is there no ambiguity? Why is there no problems and challenges? Why? Very simple. Because there was a promise from God to Abraham. You know why there's confusion and anger and fear and problems in your life and my life? Because there is no promise. We don't have a promise. We are leaning on the promise of the neighbor, the uncle, the auntie, the cousin, the father, the mother. We are leaning on everybody's promise. And when their promise is getting weak and gets over, there is no other promise. Abraham had no other person except God. Except God. That's why all these things were smoothly going the way they went. With all the help we have, with all the talent we have, with all the education and money we have, with all the network we have, with all the recommendations we have, with all the relationship we have, marriages are breaking within few months. Few months, marriages are breaking. With all the recommendations. I know this boy, brother, very small age, I know him. Nice boy, let your daughter get married. And after 6 months, story is different. Guys, listen. Nobody is bad. Nobody is bad. But let me tell you, nobody is good also. Nobody is bad and nobody is good. But listen, if you want good things to happen in your life, you can only trust the good God. That's the only way this is going to happen. Trust the good God, not the good person or the good relative or the good friend. Trust the good God. Then good things would happen. Look at the good things that happen in Abraham's life. He calls his servant, not even his relative. Who will any one of us send our servant to go get a girl and boy for our children? Will anyone even attempt to do that? Do you know why? You know why Abraham did that? Abraham didn't have to send his relative or his best friend or his, he didn't have to do that. You know why he didn't have to do that? He didn't trust the relative or friend of the servant. He trusted God. It didn't matter to Abraham whether God went or the servant went or the master went. It didn't matter. It mattered to Abraham, whoever I send, God is in control. Excuse me. God is in control. So it is not about, I'll send my elder brother. They'll have fear for him so that they'll tell all the truth. No, they won't tell the truth. They'll tell more lies. Doesn't matter who you send. It matters that God goes with who you send. Guys, it doesn't matter who you send. You can send even a police or commissioner to say, my uncle is the commissioner, so better be careful who you're. It doesn't matter. It matters who goes with them. So for Abraham, it didn't matter whether he went or elder brother went or servant went. Didn't matter. What mattered was what? The promise. The promise. I will bless your descendants. The same promise he told his servant. Hey, the God who promised me will see to it that you get a wife for my son. Now go. And what happened? What happened? Not even second chance or third chance or fourth chance. First shot. First shot. Servant goes, watching all the girls, talks to Rebecca. Boom, that's the girl. You know the story of Goliath, David and Goliath? Which shot hit the giant down? First shot, not third and fourth. First shot. You know what's God's blessing in your life? First shot. Don't settle for second, third, fourth. That's not as good as the first. You know, they always have first quality, second quality, third quality, fourth quality. In everything there is all three qualities. You get puppy dog also, first quality, second quality, third quality. You get shirt also, first quality. You go sari also, ma'am, first quality, second quality, third quality. With God also there's first, second and third and fourth. What do you settle for? You settle for the first, you need to have the promise of God for the first. You need to have the love and the fear and the passion for God. You need to have the worship for God. Then you get the first. And this is why Abraham's story for his son was able to be on the dot. Because he never relied on anything and anybody but on the promise. And this morning, my simple question to all of us. Before we say we want the blessing, before we say we want to obey God, before we say we want to please God, all that is fine. But all that can only be based if you have a promise. So the question here is, do you have a promise? Do you have God's word? Do you have God's voice saying, this is what I'm going to do for you. Listen to me. Believe this. Do you have that? If you have that, keep it. Stick with it. Believe it. Don't let it go. It will come to pass. But if you don't have that and you're trying to pretend like you will have that, you're wasting your time. Not going to work. Everything is going to go wrong everywhere. Trust me. I'm not cursing. This is the truth. You need to have something to lean on. You either lean on God safely or you lean on people unsafely. You either lean on God safely or lean on people unsafely. Nothing wrong with leaning on people. How long can they take your weight? How long can they take your pressure? How long can they take your demands? How long can they take your expectations? How long? That's why people fail. Not because they hate you, but because they become weaker and weaker and weaker. But God doesn't become weak. There's a lovely old song. I don't know if you heard it. It says, leaning, leaning, leaning on the everlasting arms of who? Not your boyfriend and husband and daughter and father. Suddenly, Putak, they'll go one day. You'll have to be doing things that you never did in your entire life. Leaning on the everlasting arms of God. Lean on his arms. He will never do that. Have you had people leaning on you when they're trying to take rest? Whether it's in the bus or somewhere. And at some point of time, your shoulder will start paining. You'll do like this. And the fellow's head will go like this. That's exactly what happens to all of us. We are leaning on people saying, this person's going to take care of me. This person's going to protect me. This person's going to provide for me. This person's going to support me. And suddenly that person goes, He'll say, what a horrible guy you are. Really? Are you serious? That guy was supposed to be a horrible guy. You didn't know that from the beginning? Did you think he was God? To lean like that? Not God. Your problem, not the person's problem. Lean on God. Abraham leant on God. That's why things went well. And as I end, I'm just cautioning all of us. Be careful who you get married to. Be very careful who you get married to. I can't tell you the number of stories I know. Maybe I can write a book on it someday. I've advised so many times, so many people in the past many years. Hold on. Don't be in a hurry. Hold on. Hold on. Be careful. See the red flags. Now they're not seeing the red flags. They're excited with few green flags. All they want to see is some few green flags fluttering in the air. And they get also excited. There's the person for me. If you see one red flag, it's over. One, not two. One red flag. Caution. Not God's problem, your problem. Don't be desperate to get married. You know what Abraham told his servant? If the girl is not willing to come with you, then I will not hold you responsible. Come back home. Listen to the words. He says, if the girl doesn't come back with you, you are free from your oath that you've taken from me. Come back home. He never told his servant, in case that girl doesn't come, you find the next pretty girl and bring her and come. Wow. You know what would have happened? You know what would have happened? That would have been the end of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It would have been Tom, Dick, and Harry. That would have been the story. Not Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So that's what happens when you compromise with God's promise and blessing and say, oh, that didn't happen. Eh? Okay, just get some girl and come. Oh, over. That's what happened. I've seen many people just get somebody, get married. Really? Really? You will be hanging with your head in shame and pain and torment. We don't do things in desperateness. No, we don't function in desperateness. Abraham was old when he got Isaac. Abraham was old. The Bible says they didn't even have strength to have intimacy for a baby. Old fellow. Baby coming out of this guy, people would have laughed. Wow. But Abraham stuck to it. Sarah laughed. The Bible says Sarah laughed. You know who she laughed at? Not Abraham. She never laughed at her husband. She laughed at God. She laughed at God. Baby for us. Wow. God said, you're laughing? Let me see what you're going to do after this. Guys, let anybody laugh. Let anybody laugh. Let anybody make fun. But it doesn't matter. People laughed at Noah when he was building the ark. Were they there alive to see the ark? All those who laughed at Noah, they were not even alive to see the boat floating. Because they were part of the dead bodies with the water. And Noah was seeing them floating on the water. They couldn't see Noah, but they laughed at Noah. Listen, let anybody laugh at you. Don't make God laugh at you. Let anybody laugh at you. Don't make God laugh at you. That would be a dangerous thing for God to do, to laugh at you. Stick to the promise. Stick to the promise. Wait. It's okay. Wait. Let me close with my own family story. We were very worried about Kim's future. Trying to get her married. 3-4 proposals came. Maybe this boy, maybe that boy. She's not interested. I don't want to get married, Dad. After 1 or 2 years, I told my wife, listen, if we force her to get married to someone, tomorrow anything happens, she'll blame us. I'm pulling out. Let God do what he does. God knows everything. Pulled out. The day we pulled out, God pulled in. Guys, either we do things or God does things. Either we do things or God does it. I'm not saying God is not wanting us to do things. I'm just saying we are sometimes so smart that we take the place of God instead of God doing things. Don't do what God has to do. Don't do that. He knows what to do. Don't teach him his work. Will you go and tell the tailor how to cut the cloth? Can you please cut like this? He'll say, go make your own pant, man. I don't want to make you a pant in your dress. Go make your own stuff. I'm sorry. Many times I've tried to, give advice to someone who I've handed over work to. You know what happens? They'll say, do you want me to do it or you want to do it? Do you want me to do it or you want? They have ego and pride. Not only ego and pride, they studied the job. You can't tell them what to do, even you think you're right. It means that you're making them an idiot after hiring them. If you say, God, you're my God, and I trust you, do things in my life, don't go and be suggesting his job. He doesn't like it. That's a bad thing to do. If an engineer and doctor and lawyer doesn't like suggestions, you think God will like your suggestions? Try going and doing something to an engineer or a doctor and telling doctor, I think that medicine you say is not good. Can I take this medicine? Try doing that to a doctor. He'll say, go take your own medicine and don't come back to me again. I don't know anything. Please handle your life. Why would we do that to God? God, this is not, can you do this one, please? God, just I thought you forgot, but don't do that. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Don't do that. That's a stupid thing to do. Once you give it, sit at the back and relax. Once you give it, sit at the back and relax. It's a scary journey. When you sit behind an auto and a taxi and that guy is driving, are you okay with his driving? Sometimes you scream at the back. Sometimes you shout at the back. But what have you given that guy? You've given him your life. Basically, you've given him your life. You're saying, here, do what you want. And he actually can do what he wants. He can send you for a somersault. He can send you for a bad ditch. He can do anything he wants. You've given him your life. Sit in the back, keep quiet. The more you talk to him, the more he'll irritate you. Try it with the driver. Say, do. Try that and see with the driver. He will do exactly the worst things. Don't. We can't do it to a driver. Why do we do it to God? Trust God. Abraham trusted God. God blessed him. Keep the promises of God. Understand the promises of God. Let's all stand.